They are a magnet for misfortune, but never the cause. Every story positions them as the blameless target of a cruel world or your specific insensitivity. They recount conflicts with a tone of wounded bewilderment, artfully omitting their own provocative role. This perpetual victimhood is a brilliant shield, deflecting criticism and eliciting your constant care. It is also a subtle form of control, making you responsible for managing their fragile world. Your compassion becomes the fuel for their ego, and you are kept in line by the fear of becoming the next villain in their tragic narrative. Beneath a veneer of generosity lies a meticulous, unforgiving ledger. Every kind act, every moment of patience, is a deposit you did not agree to make. They remember it all, and in future conflicts, they will present the statement, "After all I've done for you, is there a refrain?" This creates a dynamic of perpetual, unpayable debt. You feel you can never quite reciprocate enough, fostering a low-grade guilt that makes you hesitate to assert your own needs. Their help was never a gift, but a loan with exorbitant emotional interest. They appear humble, even self-effacing. But this modesty is a performance. A single, mild critique, or even a lack of sufficient praise, can trigger a dramatic collapse. They may retreat into a wounded silence, become coldly hostile, or launch a counterattack on your character. This disproportionate reaction reveals the truth. The grandiosity is still there. It is just buried under a thin layer of sensitivity. You learn to tiptoe around their insecurities, censoring feedback and offering excessive reassurance to avoid the fallout of their fragile self-esteem shattering. They speak in clouds, not in clarity. Commitments are vague, promises are non-specific, and apologies amass to classes in implication without admission. "I'm sorry you feel that way, or if I did anything wrong." This strategic ambiguity serves two purposes. It provides plausible deniability, allowing them to rewrite history later. More insidiously, it forces you to do the emotional heavy lifting, to interpret, to doubt your own interpretation, and to ultimately settle for crumbs of resolution. You are left chasing certainty in a relationship designed to keep you perpetually off balance. You share a deep fear, a profound joy, a personal story, and the response is polite, hollow echo. They listen to reply, not to understand, often pivoting the conversation back to themselves. There is no reflective depth, no empathetic resonance. It feels like speaking into a beautiful, ornate well, only to hear your own voice bounce back, unchanged and This lack of true emotional reciprocity is depleting. You leave interactions feeling lonelier than when you began. Your inner world rendered invisible by their pervasive, subtle self-absorption camouflaged as conversation. Your achievements are minimized. Your stresses are compared to their greater burdens. Your feelings are labeled as overreactions. They have a unique talent for shrinking your reality. If you get a promotion, they mention the extra work. If you are grieving, they remind you they have suffered more. This is not mere selfishness. It is a systematic campaign to ensure your light never outshines theirs. Your experiences must be filtered through the lens of their own, always coming in second. Over time, you stop sharing your wins and your pains, because the cost of having them diminished is too great. They treat your limits as suggestions. Your no is the opening bid in a negotiation. Your request for space is met with wounded confusion. Your need for a separate hobby seen as rejection. They operate in a haze of boundary fog, where your autonomy is an inconvenience to their access. They may comply technically, but the accompanying guilt trip or simmering resentment acts as a punishment, training you to stop setting limits altogether. Your personal territory is slowly annexed, not through a blatant invasion, but through a slow, creeping erosion of your own right to it. They frequently invoke third parties to validate their position and destabilize yours. Everyone thinks you're being difficult. Or my friends said they noticed how sensitive you are. This creates a chilling illusion of consensus, making you feel outnumbered and irrational. Whether these others truly exist or are fabricated doesn't matter. The effect is the same. You are no longer in a one-on-one disagreement. You are standing alone against a shadowy jury they have convened. It isolates you and amplifies their authority, all through the ghostly presence of unnamed, unverifiable others. Their need for control is masked as profound concern. They fret over your choices, framing their interference as protective care. "I just worry about you" is the mantra that justifies monitoring your friendships, your spending, or your daily schedule. This transforms their dominance into a virtue, making resistance feel not like self-assertion, but like reckless ingratitude. You are trapped in a gilded cage of their making, where the bars are painted as pillars of support. To push back is to reject their love, a psychological bind that keeps you compliant under the warm, heavy blanket of their anxiety. Their recollection of events is curiously self-serving. Promises made, hurtful words spoken, agreements reached. These vanish from their record without a trace. When confronted, they display genuine seeming confusion or accuse you of fabrication. This isn't simple forgetfulness. It is a strategic rewriting of shared history. It erodes your trust in your own memory, forcing you to rely on their shifting narrative. You become an archaeologist of your own past, sifting for evidence that proves your reality existed, while they calmly deny the very ground you stand on. They cannot celebrate your success as truly your own. Your accomplishment becomes a shared victory, where their support was instrumental. Or worse, it becomes a trigger for their own hidden insecurity. They may subtly belittle the achievement, immediately follow it with a story of their own, or fall into a mysterious funk requiring your comfort. Your joy is siphoned away to feed their fragile ego. You learn to downplay your own wins, to avoid the emotional labor of managing their silent competition or covert resentment, that your moment in the sun briefly cast them in shadow. The emotional climate is dictated entirely by their internal state, and it can change without warning. You are forced to become a full-time meteorologist, scanning for subtle shifts in pressure. Their bad mood becomes your emergency, their silence a problem you must solve. Walking into a room, your first instinct is to read their face, to know what version of them you will encounter. This constant adaptation is exhausting. You are held hostage to their whims, spending your energy navigating storms you did not create, just to maintain a fragile, temporary calm. They perform ordinary responsibilities, the ones all adults manage, with a sigh of weary grandeur. Taking out the trash, attending a work meeting, or listening to your story is framed as a heroic sacrifice. This curated exhaustion is a powerful tool. It garners unearned praise for basic decency and frames any requests of your own as a burdensome addition to their colossal load. You find yourself apologizing for needing their time or energy, grateful for the bare minimum. Their self-proclaimed martyrdom ensures they are perpetually owed a debt, while your own needs become an inconvenient. Any attempt to address their behavior is masterfully rerouted. A concern about their coldness becomes a lecture on your tone. A request for more help becomes an analysis of your incompetence. They are intellectual judo masters, using the momentum of your legitimate grievance to throw you off balance and land you flat on your back, defending yourself. The original issue is lost in a fog of counter-accusations and semantic debates. You leave these circular conversations drained, confused, and focused on your own perceived flaws, while their action remains untouched, hidden safely behind a wall of deflection. Between periods of coldness or criticism, they unleash overwhelming showers of affection, gifts, and future promises. This is not consistent love. It is strategic re-engagement. It serves to reset the clock on your grievances, rewarding your compliance and rekindling hope that the real them is back. This intermittent reinforcement is powerfully addictive, keeping you bonded through the bad times in anticipation of the next euphoric high. These interludes are not a contradiction to the abuse. They are its most critical component, the sugary bait that keeps you locked in the trap. They hold a quiet, unshakable belief in their own refined taste, intellect, or morality, especially compared to others. This isn't loud bragging, but a subtle, pervasive air of being just a little more enlightened. They use passive language. It's interesting you like that. Or offer unsolicited corrections to showcase their depth. This hidden grandiosity masks a profound insecurity, needing to feel one step above to feel safe. You are subtly positioned as the student to their teacher, your opinions gently molded to align with their superior perspective, eroding your intellectual confidence. When faced with genuine emotional intimacy or conflict, they retreat into cold intellect or spiritual platitudes. Your pain is met with a detached analysis or a meaningless cliché about positivity, completely bypassing the human connection you seek. This is a defense mechanism against true vulnerability. They offer a textbook when you need a heartbeat. It leaves you feeling profoundly alone, your raw emotion sterilized by their clinical or mystical detachment. You'll learn that deep emotional sharing is futile, as your feelings will be neatly categorized or spiritually dismissed, never truly held or witnessed. You are not in a relationship with who they are, but with a dazzling, perfect person they could be, based on their occasional, fleeting displays of brilliance or kindness. They expertly dangle this phantom self, using apologies full of future promises that never materialize. You become an investor in a ghost, pouring your energy and forgiveness into a mirage. This focus on their potential is a powerful distraction from the consistent reality of their behavior. It traps you in a cycle of hope and disappointment, where leaving feels like abandoning someone who is just about to become real. Their disapproval is not voiced. It is enacted through a calculated, deafening withdrawal. This is not a pause for space. It is a weaponized silence designed to induce anxiety, confusion, and submission. You scramble to identify your transgression, offering apologies and concessions to restore communication. This passive-aggressive tactic is ultimate control, punishing you without leaving a visible mark. It teaches you that connection is conditional on your compliance, and that any misstep will result in emotional exile. Your peace becomes contingent on your ability to preemptively please. In the end, you realize you are not a separate person to them, but a mirror. Your role is to reflect back their desired image, to manage their emotions, to validate their narrative. When you reflect something they dislike, like a boundary or a hurt feeling, they rage against the mirror. Your individuality, your separate inner world, is an inconvenience to their narcissistic project. The greatest hidden behavior is this: you are not loved for your essence, but used as a tool for their self-regulation. Seeing this is the moment the illusion shatters, revealing not a partner, but a void where your reflection used to be. If these hidden behaviors paint a chillingly familiar portrait, please understand, your confusion was the intended design. Covert Narcissism is a pathologia. Ambiguity, a masterpiece of plausible deniability that leaves you doubting your own sanity. Recognizing these patterns is not an act of judgment, but an act of profound self-liberation. It is the moment you stop trying to decode the fog and finally see the machinery creating it. This awareness is your compass out of the maze. You're not dealing with a simple flaw, but a deep fracture in another psyche that you cannot heal. Your task is not to fix the mirror, but to reclaim your own reflection. Step back from the glass. The person staring back, weary but seeing clearly, is your way home. Trust, trust, trust.